Bala, also, I wanted to understand, when we spoke about AI, actually, for the leadership generally is always, boils down to the bottom line, right? So, how do enterprises, can get ROI from AI, actually? Yeah, and why do most of the companies fail or to scale up when they go beyond the pilot program?
Yes, there are a few reasons why that there could be barriers to or failure of a new innovation in that. The first thing is to and particularly in context of ROI as well. The first thing is to have think big, but take the smallest step, and ensure that the steps is pretty much a design in a way that once this is done, and sequentially design that as well. And often there's a lot of scope within the first phase. Like there is a core, there's some non-core items like a bells and whistles. All these things comes in within the first phase, where the focus may not then shift from delivering something rather than putting on a quality of the product. So I think the very first barrier is this: we need to have a scope, and that scope also would need to be validated against what's the efficiency. If we are actually doing 4.5 hours work within 15 to 20 minutes, and the two we are just we're reviewing it on top of that, and it's good. But what is the price for being this good? That needs to be a good thought process and a written paper around this to ensure that everyone is agreed on that, so that there is a key performance indicator which could be measured as well. And these are some of the basics which is similar to any project management tool. The difference here is that because it's a new innovation, and often innovation, there needs to be some room for course correction as well. So often, if the team understands the science and the methodology behind the innovation, rather than telling the technology partner, sorry, it's your problem, you have to give me this, then there'll be a struggle for quality of the conclusion of the project. So instead of that, if it's a collaborative approach, then the bank's team also becomes very knowledgeable about the process, because they'll be interacting constantly with that. And as a result of the findings of the innovation, and if there's any course correction, that resultant end result could be even better than the originally envisaged process. So often that can come up with even a better solution. So the collaboration is key in the AI, where there need to be joint thought process, coming back to the table. Sorry, this didn't work. Can we redesign something? Are you okay if the timeline is 2 more weeks? And then people may, it could result in a very good situation. Yeah.
So, and you see that I'm sure you, as you mentioned, the collaborative is, work niche is required right now. The collaboration from both the client and the vendor side and the technical partner side is required. So, at the moment, is toggle when it comes to the ROI. When the enterprises are really struggling to see the ROI from the AI perspective, like, is it like more overall and globally? Do you see that kind of challenge? Because I take stage in when it comes to AI. So what happened? Everybody was to jump the bandwagon, but like, are they really checking it, or do they have that kind of checks and balances to understand that they have any kind of report card to evaluate? As I said, it's more like a project management. So do you think there's a lot of work to be done in that side?
There's one more thing on the AI project, because I was talking about because it's a new area innovation, There could be some course correction. There is also another part B of the thought process. The part B is when it comes to AI, there's always newsworthy and something which is really makes a sensationalizing thing what an organization can do, or that could be something which is really meaningful as well. So there needs to be a balance. And an example is that we have done a lot of newsworthy thing much ahead of something which is also sometimes needed. So I think I'm not talking about just any banks. I'm just talking about as such our society. Like, we have sent someone in the moon in 1969, but there are lesser newsworthy innovation got patented after that. A man has been sent to the moon, but then there are other technology like, for example, wheels under the bag. They got patented only in the 70s or 80s. So that's also another area which a team which is planning to embark on the innovation journey need to look at that. Are we just doing this for the newsworthy sake, or is this something like an ROI? So they need to blend these two together. And your question on how is it happening globally? Is there any ROI return on AI work? Actually, I don't know, because I don't have the data, but there are a lot of research article by, I'm sure there are thought leaders in this area like McKinsey, EY. They must have written a lot of papers on the ROI. From our engagement with our clients, they find a return on investment within an year of implementation. So we have embarked on a journey where it makes sense to have this, whether it's newsworthy or it's just a productivity tool. Yeah.
And that will lead to a long-term engagement with the client when they see value and they see an ROI, right? Because otherwise, as you said, we have to kind of look and decipher what is newsworthy and what exactly is the real value. You have to do that. Yes. So that's very important today with, as I mentioned, everybody wants to jump the AI bandwagon without even understanding exactly the core benefits and how is it going to align with their business. So yeah, first of all, I think people need to be clear on that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That there needs to be a lot of clarity and brainstorming session, which one we should do and which one we should do someday, some other time, And so, yeah, there needs to be a lot of work before they even start that project. Yeah.
But I also wanted to, check actually, or in fact, understand, as you already mentioned in terms of, coming that you all are already contemplating and working on the phase 2 and phase 3, of the product offerings. In terms, look at scaling must be one of the, you're looking at scaling as such. So are you looking at bringing in investors or partners to take the Walnut AI to the next level? Because I'm sure funding is always required when you are looking at scaling. So where are we on that? What's your take on that?
Yeah. So we already have investors who are helping us to scale up our product. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. We already done that. And at some point of time, there'll be further scale up. And I think our investors have been pretty good in challenging us as for how to scale it and also giving us a lot of ideas of scaling up as well.
So you're sorted there.
Yeah, for now.
That's quite great. And for all those, who are watching the show, and they want to join this mission, basically. So can they see a scope for themselves as an AI scientist or a heavy domain expert, banking expert?
Yeah, I think what we are currently seeing is, as you know, the technology is already there and it's very accessible. And there's a lot of good resource on technology. across all the regions available. I think what I feel is that there's a time when the design is going to be the key in ensuring that the technology is serving the last mile and it's cutting edge as well. So for that to drive, a domain expertise is very, very essential. And someone who understands the problem from practicality point of view, and that actually and then driving the innovation. I feel that's actually a very good intersection of domain and technology. So yes, we'll see more domain experts in the future driving all the technology designs.
Do you suggest, as maybe a young guy sitting, or somebody who's working in a bank in India with 5 years of experience and kind of flummoxed, where his career is taking him to, what kind of basically education or courses, or what kind of what kind of things they should do actually to align and look at these kind of careers, degree, so to speak, right now, right? There's nothing in it. He's invented and you all have innovated. So yes, from that.
So I think the first thing they can do, anyone working in a bank with maybe 3 to 5 years experience, is to raise their hand and say, look, what's the innovation happening? And can that person join in doing a small part of that? And that's the first starting point. And I feel can be very, very effective for a person already inside an organization with a role. But often what tends to happen is, because I think there's long hours sometimes, that could be, very demanding work schedule may prevail that. But somehow if the person makes time to do work on the innovation, that will be a great way to a starting point. Yes, when started, and then it opens up new problem, how to solve this problem. At the time, looking at the courses, what is AI, machine learning, what is large language model, that could be very helpful. And a lot of these models there are so much of knowledge out there. And sometimes the hardest thing can be to see where to get started, because there's a lot of information out there. So it's best to have an anchor point of a small little initiative or a project. And from there, someone can learn and start learning a bit more, like a corkscrew model, have a starting point, but just go around a little bit area around that, and then just goes up to the knowledge. Yeah.
Great. I'm sure this will be very helpful for many of the youngsters who are watching it, because yes, they all want to dive into startups, ecosystem, and they all want to get into the AI bandwagon, get into and explore AI, but it's still not clear actually. As you rightly said, it's very noisy right now.
Yes, definitely. And you mentioned that if they want to do a startup and work on that, so if their current organization allows, they can be a mentor to an early stage company which is doing some work in their domain area. And they can volunteer, say, look, is there anywhere, I'm also having this experience in a bank. I know you guys are solving this problem. Can I actually be like an advisor or a consultant? And then obviously it all needs to have proper documentation of the organization, human resource and all that. That's no conflict of interest and all those things. Post that is clear, that's also a great opportunity. We, of my Walnut also have such mentors from banks who have cleared from their HR to be a mentor for us in certain domain area.
That's great, because they add value, because they bring a huge amount of domain expertise, right? So yeah, definitely that. And that can be a great opportunity for the youngsters as well, and for the senior folks in the banking industry and who want to get into AI or kind of explore AI or get into the startup space.
Yes. Yes. So any new entrants to the organization, this could be great because on one end they're learning from the organization itself that hey, what is it? But this gives a outside in view as well what is happening in the industry. And if they start writing articles on innovation and share with our colleagues and wider industry circle, that also validates their learning as well. That's also a very powerful way to you do that. For leaders who are already established leader, also sometimes we are having a leadership role, and that is two journey. One is organization journey, because you have hired really wonderful people in your team and you've actually trained them to come up to certain level. There's a lot of bandwidth spent managing them as well. So how do we actually have a continuous professional development? This could be a good way for them as well to understand what is happening, so that, well, I'm just managing some human beings here, but I actually want to know what is the latest trending technology happening. So that could be a good for senior leaders as well.
Because a lot of the collaboration and a lot of migration actually that helps, right?
Yes.
Knowledge sharing actually is integral. But recently, India hosted the AI summit, right, which just wrapped up yesterday. So there is a lot of conversation and a lot of emphasis on sovereign AI. The idea that companies should own their tech and have their own data kitchen and not hire from the global giants. So what is your take on how Walnut AI currently or in future is looking at helping banks in, kind of getting them digital independence, if I may say so?
Yeah, I think it's a good thought process. If the company is processing data, and the data should be with the company, it shouldn't be, exposed the data. And this like a really fundamental of, the new technology or the AI machine learning, that data should be secure and it should be within the company. How do we actually then bridge the gap between a data set which is there in a company, and there is another one to actually bring up some collaborative which the large language models are offering? They have a lot of data sets out there. How do we collaborate on that? So I think this area we have to see how it will unfold. But the process is a good thought process. The thought process is good. And we at Walnut also, when we implement or install our solution, in that the data doesn't leave the organization, it stays there. We don't use one company's data trained with other companies, because it's all very, very secure. It will be used only for that particular purpose.
Great, you're already following that, actually.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we covered kind of a full, the AI landscape is also getting noisy day by day, as we discussed. 5 years from now, what will be the X factor that differentiates Walnut AI from its competition, if you may call, actually? And will it be the deeper domain knowledge or the real-time risk monitoring?
There'll be 3 things which will actually make it. We are already in that journey to ensure that it's unique selling point on that. So the very first thing is explainable AI. So if my AI is brought in certain confidence level, just out of a click of a button, it should tell me why this confidence level was that. And it will tell, was it because of the data it has seen? What are the assumptions it has made? And what are the limitations? How we can improve the confidence? We do it right now with Walnut AI. Click of button, it gives. Is it very friendly? It gives us a really, in a way where like a layman can understand. Actually, I can see this is exactly what is happening. No, we have not reached that stage yet where it can very efficiently and a click of button tell us how do you improve that. But we actually provide the data that people can understand, comprehend, knowledgeable person can understand and comprehend. We want that a layman can understand that. That's what will happen. The second thing which will make the process is triangulation and validation of a data. So an example is a company is having a good revenue run. However, how's the bank statement showing? Is a cash flow also coming? If a company has got a really good and taking that further to see how is that collection or receivable process? Is it age receivable? Are the customer paying after buying the product? So there are a lot of connecting the dots that needs to come in. The last thing is there are various information based on this can go and channel to an early alert system where it can flag an alert as a suggestion to say, this particular client, we've done this, they have this loan and this information. Here is click of button. You know that is something which you need to speak to the client about something. It could be about they're selling a product, but there is a threat of obsolescence, or there is a lot of sales happening. No, there is not many sales happening, but there is a lot of inventory. And why is this? So all these questions could be generated and validated and translated on that. So these are the 3 points we find that we will evolve. And a click of a button, we put in a document and it all comes in together. And then it talks to the relationship manager of the corporate client in a bank or to the credit risk officer.
In simple terms, if I may say so, it's like basically flags off and flag it off that, okay, there is a little, and tells the relationship managers to look into it, that there is there's a need required to look into the particular case.
Yeah, it works with the time with the RM has got. Like if RM has got only like 10 minutes, then just look at this and this client. If you got half an hour, please look at the client number 7 as well. That's the point. So it should be very, very holistic. It should be helping the human being to make powerful decisions. Yeah.
Okay. That would be quite incredible and helpful, especially in terms of the sector.
Yes.
And how do you look at the competition right now, Bala? Do you have any competitions? I'm curious to know, or how do you look at it? You're shaping up or coming up in the future?
Yes, we do have a lot of competitors who are in similar space. So yes, they're also doing a good job. And there's always, like any other business, if there are competitors, it keeps us on toes to actually strengthen our offering and not to rest on our laurels. We are always thinking what's next and trying to improve our models accuracy, and also connecting the dots across the current corporate financials information as well. So we are always reinventing something new around the corner to make the product niche. So competition is helpful, and it helps us all to become better.
That's a very positive way to look at it, actually. We kind of covered everything, Walnut AI does, and we also discussed about the overall industry landscape. I also wanted to understand, I'm sure on the personal basis, how does the balance work in life as such? Because I'm sure you'll have long hours, since you have customers all across, different parts of India. In the different geographies. So, what's your mantra for work-life balance? Because that is in startups are burning out, and entrepreneurs are complaining of burnout. So, what is your mantra?
Yeah. So, I'm a meditator. And I meditate every day for 1 hour in the morning. And the last 400 days, I have meditated at least 1 hour in the morning, at least. Yeah. So that helps me a lot, because it helps me to respond to situation rather than react to something. And I find a lot of time our problems are because we are reacting to something. And when we react, we have to, the time, turnaround time is very quick. So which means we have to build in assumptions and a lot of things to do that. When we respond, the first time asking a question, is it a problem to solve? And most importantly, is it a problem I need to solve now or today? If not today, let me go to my calendar on Thursday, remind myself to solve the problem. So a lot of us are very visual. We look at a lot of screens there with screensaver. Everything is instant, right? So I think we sometimes get programmed and to move that. So I don't, of course, I'll be lying if I say I don't react to something. Yes, I do react, but I make conscious effort to say, hey, there I go again. Sorry, I should think through this way. Whether before I react to something, can I respond it in way? So it helps me to pace my engagement, to prioritize what I need to do. And it's not from self-help book or anything like that. It's just my way I meditate, and it helps me on that. The second thing is because through Walnut, we actually help some organization as well. So we are helping an orphanage in Bali. We are also set up a small little youth center in Philippines. And we had 3 people. We have cut it down to now 2 because of some revenue which has gone down. But we are developing youth in a very remote part of Philippines, and they're doing financial spreading for us, And otherwise, they would be doing some other job, but they're very talented people, engineers, and they're doing financial spreading job. One of the ladies supposed to be going another country to do some other job, but because of us, she's able to stay with our children and the family and working for us as well. So we are very proud of that we made that happen. And often there could be some issue in terms of software. There must be some glitch. We take a step back to say, hey, higher purpose is we are giving roles to people, and very good role to people. And we are also contributing to the society. We are also teaching citizens how to code and infusing the code with AI. So there are people from all walks of life, non-technology professionals who have benefited from our program in the local community center in Singapore. So these are the things which helps us to think there are bigger problems in the world, but let's get to this in a minute with that. So that makes it a bit more contextual to the problem we are solving without getting overly burnt up or stressed. The third thing, and I think my co-founder is also very rational and very relaxed person, and the CA team is also very good in terms of solving the problem. We rarely blame anyone for anything.
Yeah, joy.
Yeah, it is. So we don't quickly look for blaming. We want to solve the problem. For how to solve, and is this a problem? So the people we attracted, and over a period of time, they also found our style to be very effective. Is that also helps us to do that? So this the work-life balance. I mean, I do have days where I'm not able to go to the gym or go for a run or do that, but I do have time for meditation. And one of the saying, someone, I don't know who said this, if you don't have the time for meditation, that's the time we need to meditate. I feel it creates more time. How we can create more time is because it helps me to think through what's more important and what's less important. Otherwise, we are just constantly answering questions which is in front of us rather than thinking deeply what's actually I need to do today.
I'm sure that attitude or meditation has also helped you along completely in a great way in your as a founder for Walnut AI and shaping the company.
It's yeah, it plays a big role, and often sometimes I'm thinking, wow, this is like crazy day. But hang on a second, these are the real reason why my skill set is getting upgraded. You know, so constantly finding different perspectives.
I'm
Yeah.
sure there's an alternative for you as a spiritual guru or as a meditating guru as well. I said,
Well,
I said there's always an alternate career for you as a spiritual guru.
yes, maybe an alternate career. And I think after this call, there's someone coming to my home office to understand about meditation, how to get started as well. Maybe yes. This is the first time someone is asking me, please share me how to meditate as well. So let's see how it goes.
I'm not wrong, actually. I have whatever I prefer, will be true in future as well. Like Bala will have two different things. One is about Walnut AI, where you're cracking the shells, the complex shells in terms of business. Here you're cracking the complex minds and helping them to simplify, actually. That's,
Yes.
that's really beautiful. I would be keen to know what happened after your meeting with, Vinny True about AI.
Yeah. I mean, other thing which helps me to do is to look at things. I read like mind bending things, So my favorite podcast is something called Hidden Brain, written by Shankar from, I think he's based in the US. He is from, I think, New York Times or Washington Post. He started this podcast called The Hidden Brain. So he talks about the hidden side of things. In same thing, there's another podcast called Freakonomics as well. So it also talks about a lot of things in the world looks obvious, but actually opposite is true as well. So these are things which also gives me a point that, hey, I've got this problem, but is it really a problem, or is it a different way to look at this? So constantly, it helps me to encourage these sort of things which I read, like Freakonomics and Hidden Brain as well. It helps me as well to think if there's a new perspective. And sometimes it is true. There's a new perspective.
Oh, that's wonderful to know. So yeah, we are so engrossed in the transactional life, and
Yeah.
the point of view which you shared is so much needed. Actually, yeah, we totally.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody thinks it's in thing to work multiple hours and this is how life should be, but definitely nobody sits deep down and understands. So yeah, meditation and these kind of platforms really help today in shaping and kind of helping people to.
Yes.
I'm talking about my side of your mind.
Definitely. I'm writing a small little book on this, where it's not a book about how to teach meditation or it's not preach that, you have to go to this to do the meditation, or it's not about meditation. It's about something which, before meditation, when I read it, and after meditation, I have some reflection, I note it down. So it helps me before I practice my daily meditation that, I read this short story and then I meditate. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work. I'm publishing maybe in about maybe 6 months time this book, just as a companion to a meditation rather than be a how to meditate book. It's for already people who are meditating. They can read, and if it works, deepen their meditation, it's great. Otherwise, yeah, I'm still in the process of getting some feedback or from few people, so meditators, to see if they're going to be effective or not. So yeah, that's on the cards. So I spend some time on that as well, every weekend to have a new chapter. So it's about 30 days, 30 stories. Every day, a story about something to reflect on and to do that. Yeah.
And it's a skill like experiences and real life.
It's a real life stories, real experience I had. Things like it talks about synchronicity and, how sometimes when we go to certain situation, if we actually apply situational leadership, we get better out of it. And that situation leadership could be anything. It could be how to frame the problem in such a way that it it's meaningful to what we are doing. An example is there's a story about Birbal and Akbar. One of the astrologers told Akbar saying, hey, all your uh, you know cousins, brothers will die in front of you, and then and of course he was like really angry, the emperor. But the very next day, after suggestion from Birbal, he said that say like this: among your cousins and brothers, you'll be the longest living. It's same, but in one, you have some superior attitude, I guess, to tell him that, it's not good. On the other hand, it's kind of like, make the other person at ease that, hey, you have some blessings here that you're longest living. So framing sometimes is important. So there are many themes to the book on that. 30 days, maybe there are 6 or 8 themes on that. So there are short ones. It should be in the cards. I'll send you a copy of that as well. Yeah.
Really look forward to. I'm sure it will help me immensely. For sure.
Yeah.
So that's So thank you so much, Bala. We have kind of covered the full spectrum. To wrap up, if you was to remember one insight from this conversation, what should that be?
If you have to remember one insight is that, I think we are living in one of the really good times of the human civilization. And so if someone has a good idea, not to wait, take the plunge, start small and take the plunge. And you never know that it could be the next brightest idea, because bright and nobody has got a monopoly of the ideas. It's all can come from anywhere. Or not to hold yourself to, I'll do it after 25 years of my job, I'll do that. No, you can start anytime. So I think that could be one message I can share. Yeah.
I'm sure with your account actually that you took a plunge to kind of role model, inspire, and what a great success you are today. So I'm sure, this really will help people like me as well who have taken a plunge and and try to do something different and something what we always wanted to do actually. So thank you so much, Bala. It is a perfect note to end on. And thank you so much for sharing the wallet journey and in a very honest, transparent way. Actually, it was really great when you were narrating your story to understand and to hear that actually. So it was lovely, and we will continue to watch and as you expand and solve more complex business challenges and complex challenges as well in the future. So thank you so much for
Thank you so much for inviting me to this. You taking a plan and doing all this and asking the right question itself is very inspiring. I'm equally inspired by the work you do, the videos you produce, and it's like a catalyst for a lot of people to watch and get inspired. So thank you for the wonderful work as well.
Thank you so much for this very